I do like the music we use for that.
Oh, did you have a different music for specifically Hills?
Yeah, the intro to Hills.
I didn't notice the difference between it and radio.
It's got a whole other like graphic and animation and text.
Oh, yeah, the animation I noticed is different. I just didn't notice that the audio was different. Like the song
in the
itself.
opener. Yeah, the opener is only in Hills2Die on.
Okay. Well, because we used to use one for the radio.
I work so hard on these edits, and this motherfucker doesn't even... You use different music?
So let's start things off with describing the landscape to get a better baseline idea, and then in turn find out what side we fall on. So, as a whole, the physical versus digital debate is getting more and more lopsided every day. From my short little study earlier, or research, in 2022, according to one site, over 70% of all video games were digital, with an estimated current 90 to 94%. In the same span, only 9% of music was physical in 2019. And even just last year, Best Buy stopped selling digital games altogether. I don't even think they sell CDs. I know Walmart and Target, I believe, stopped selling those a minute ago as well.
Wait, go back. You said Best Buy stopped selling digital?
Sorry, physical, not digital.
Oh, okay.
They stopped selling physical.
Like altogether.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like last year they had the whole thing where like they just stripped the shelves of their video games.
I mean, I'll be 100% honest with you. I haven't been inside a Best Buy in like 3 years, and the last time I went into a Best Buy, it was to buy a washer.
True. I mean, for most people, it's either stuff like that, appliances and sound equipment, or like me, it's just a tech room demo to test out stuff before you buy it online.
Video not sponsored by Best Buy.
Oh, no. If they were, I'd tell them to pay my credit card off, please.
What is the last bit of physical media you purchased?
The last physical media I purchased? Let's see. I was going to say Armored Core, but no, I bought that digitally. I just bought the physical collector stuff to go with it. There was no actual physical disc. Ever since I went to PC, it's been kind of hard to go physical, obviously, because
there's no you can't even get a computer with a disc drive anymore.
Yeah, disk drives are not a thing anymore. And then, whoops.
Dark Frost trying to just delete me from existence.
Trying to. It's not working. I'll get you next time, Gadget.
Wow, I think the last bit of physical media I actually purchased was Nintendo. Like a Switch, I think it was a Switch game. The last Pokemon game. That was the last piece of physical media I purchased. Scarlet and Violet.
I'm trying to think, what physical game have I bought since... I did buy Cyberpunk. That was probably the last game I bought physical. Because I went... Yeah, before Cyberpunk, it was Final Fantasy Remake. And then it was... Yeah, probably Cyberpunk was the last game I bought. Either Cyberpunk or... No, it was probably 2077 Cyberpunk. That had to be the last one because it was on sale at Best Buy.
Yeah, I can't remember. No, actually, I know exactly.
Yeah.
I know exactly what the last piece of physical media I purchased for like music. It was the special edition of the Under the Covers from Ninja Sex Party, like the signed version. That was the last physical media I purchased.
Oh, now if we're talking about the last music I purchased, that was the Innocuous, I think it's called. The most recent Tool album.
Oh, wow.
When it came out in 2018. So I bought that physical because at that time, Tool wasn't streaming on any services. So you could only buy it physical.
I mean, I miss physical media when it comes to music, but then like everything's streamable now or downloadable, and you can build your own playlist. You have to buy the entire album. Because back in the day, it was you bought an album and you just when new album came out, you haven't really had a chance to listen to the whole album. You just prayed to God it all the songs are bangers. Otherwise, you'd pay $15-20 for like 2 good songs.
Yeah, no, that. Oh, the last album I bought like that, blind, was, I believe the group. I was like 12 or 13. The group was like Alter Bridge or something like that, and I'm like, oh, I know that one song from the radio. Purchased it for a road trip, and oh my god, the rest was pure garbage. I was like, why for thou forsaken me? No, it was.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I don't miss that aspect of it. And then I don't necessarily miss CDs themselves. I do kind of miss physical. But before we get to our feelings on the matter, I do have a couple topic questions. So, which is your preferred way to buy? Like, as of right now, what is your preferred method to purchase, physical or digital?
So, if I'm being 100% honest, I like everything about digital. I like being able to purchase it at 2 o'clock in the morning if I really want to play a game. Just like put it through my card, start the install. I can play it, and then I can uninstall it to shelve it, and then load up a new game. I'm all about the digital sales space, but I really don't like the intangibility of it. So, like, worst case scenario, if something happens, if my account becomes corrupted, or I lose, on the older side, if you lose a hard drive or something like that, game's gone. And yeah, you can argue you can lose or break physical media as well, but it's getting to the point now where my biggest fear is, like, how long do I actually own the right to play that game? With servers shutting down, or if they revoke licenses, or it doesn't become available, or if it's no longer available on a certain platform or a certain storefront, like that's been happening recently.
With Nintendo shutting down all ROM sites hosting their certain IPs, there's now no way to get some of these video games. I mean, there is, wink wink, but I mean, like, there's no... Well, I mean, you can find ways, but, like, there's no easy way of doing these. There's these games that they don't want to sell, they don't have modern versions of, and, like, it's just... That's just another tangent for another day, I guess, with Nintendo specifically. But it comes down to... Well, first, let me agree with you on, yes, I do 100% love the convenience factor of digital. Streaming a TV show or a movie or a video game. Well, not streaming a video game. I do prefer to download it because latency and everything. Those are convenient. They're fantastic. Like you said, any rain and shine, no matter the weather, no matter how you feel that day, all you got to do is press download or play. That is fantastic. I do not miss having to worry about CD changers or multiple tape decks or, like you were saying, going in blind for an whole album, because at the same time, not only did we have to buy it physically,
or the little snappy things breaking on the jewel case, and you put your disc in there and it just free spins, or you got to pick it up off the shelf and it's just banging around in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the physical casings for the physical things were a lot of times bad too. And we also didn't have the internet back then. You had just other physical media like magazines, and stuff like that, to find out if an album was good or a movie was good or something like that. So not only are you spending full price for these things, you have to physically lug them around, go to them. I mean, I do miss going to rental stores.
That was our very, very first episode on this channel.
Yeah, like that holds a good spot for me.
But there are pros and cons, digital versus physical. Now, this is a hills to die on. So what is your hill? What hill are you prepared to die on? Are you physical or digital?
I'm pro digital, but I think we shouldn't let physical go away. The physical needs to remain, I think, for not just for consumers, but also for collectors and for archival purposes. Look at the Internet Archive recently, Viacom, I believe, is who owns MTV or whatever, and Comedy Central.
Oh yeah, they just
Recently-
nuked all their archives, didn't they?
Yeah, they just nuked. All MTV's gone. All their old Comedy Central stuff is now like pointing you towards, what is it, Peacock or whatever their streaming service is, you know, and it's terrible. Like, you can't. Another great example of physical versus digital. We grew up in the same time. I mean, you're a couple years older than me, so you know
Easy.
media. You know media from our time period. So okay, the Drew Carey TV show.
Okay.
Did you ever watch the Drew Carey TV show?
Yes.
Okay, I used to love that show growing up as a kid. Apparently, due to musical rights and everything, that thing has been in, like, they haven't released it physically. They haven't released it on digital, except for like the original. Like, I think there might have been like a original DVD or VHS run or something like that.
Really?
But they haven't re-released it. Yeah, because apparently it's nightmare for the musical rights to that show because it had a bunch of different music throughout the season of the show. Whatever.
Oh man.
So it's pretty much dead. Like, there's no copy of it easily to come by.
The Drew Carey show is lost media.
Yeah, and it's wild that that's a thing. It's wild that, you know, growing up, you're like, especially growing up in a world where physical media existed. Like, the old animes with the like giant floppy drives that were supposed to mean the future kind of thing, Star Trek-y kind of thing, but they're using, you know, big CRTs or, you know,
They're like retro futuristic.
yeah. That to me was the future, you know, Ripley and Aliens, you know, that kind of thing.
Hey, I've still got a couple of anime on Laserdisc.
Yeah, you know, all that, like, it just sucks knowing
Laserdisc,
that
kids, it's compact.
it's. I don't think they ever advertise it as such, but it was definitely a disc. There was no C involved.
You just don't get quality pictures unless you're on Laserdisc.
Now, I'm definitely not one of those purists when it comes to like quality on physical versus digital being much better. I mean, Blu-ray, yes. I don't think current streaming comes close to the highest quality a Blu-ray bitrate can be or whatever. Don't quote me on it. I could be wrong currently, but that's just the last thing I heard.
Well, it's also dependent on internet versus. So I guess back to your physical like digital's better, but physical needs to stay around. So for people who don't have access to high-speed internet or like really nice high-speed internet where you could watch something in Ultra HD or things of that nature, physical media obviously is still the best way to do that, right?
Yeah, for people who are offline and don't have access to internet or in just a spotty area or where it's cost prohibitive, you know, any reason that they have to be offline, because nowadays, yes, the internet is pretty much required to exist in the modern world, and if you don't have that, companies are now shutting you off even more so to where you can't even watch music or listen to music, watch TV and movies and play games because you don't exist online. Like, that's terrible in itself. There's the whole archival issue.
So this is a Hills2Die episode, so I've got to play devil's advocate on the other side of this. What's to incentivize studios to release physical media that's going to cost them more money to print discs? What's the solve there? Do you think that you have to request it directly from the studio? Do we regress to where we have actual physical media stores?
I mean, I did have the question of, do we see it coming or returning at some point? That's a big if, because, like, what was it? Sony, I believe. I know Samsung stopped selling Blu-ray players a couple years back, I think, and then I think Sony just recently said they stopped manufacturing them as well. I want to say, or at least manufacturing new ones.
Oh man.
So that's not a good sign for physical media. I mean, of course, we still have SD cards, and, you know, like, Blu-rays currently still exist. No, that's what it was. It wasn't players. It was writers. They were no longer selling writers, so you can no longer burn your own media. So it's like, to me, that is one step towards the death knell for physical media, especially Blu-ray. Like,
I feel
you can't burn your own disc. Like,
I feel it's kind of like if you play Gen 1 Pokemon and you've just been like trading Pokemon up through the generations in each game and media, and they came out with what is that? The Pokemon Bank or whatever. You can trade Pokemon between games on an account. That's what it was like for me growing up with my anime collection, because I do have a ton of stuff on Laserdisc and VHS, and that I've had to get up and, you know, oh, now we've got to be on DVD, now everything's in HD. I still have a JVC VCR that's hidden back there. It's my most prized possession, because if that thing goes, I can't watch like the 40 VHS I still have.
Is that a new one? Or I say new one. Is it a new one that you accumulated as an adult, or is that one of our old decks? Please tell me it's the dual deck one.
No, God, that old black monster that we used to have that was like the size
one that
of
could
a
copy
Buick.
VHS.
No,
That thing was amazing.
It wasn't. It's not that one. It's a JVC. Okay. It was one that they sold at Walmart. Like, oh my God, that thing is 21 years old. My VCR is old enough to drink. Well, I just turned to dust in front of everyone. But I'll tell you, I mean, it would be nice to have, I would love digital copies of all of these, because video degradation does happen. These VHSs do not have the same kind of quality that I could get watching them on Crunchyroll. I've been on Crunchyroll, so like tapes I have, Record of Lodoss War, I've been watching the Record of Lodoss War on Crunchyroll. Much nicer to do. I don't have to switch out tapes. I don't have to rewind. I don't have to go through manga adverts or ADV film adverts beforehand.
Do it now.
But it's been really nice. I will say one thing, specifically talking about video games, is I miss having that financial investment that when I am done with this game, I can take it to GameStop or Game Exchange and get something back towards the purchase of a new game or item. If you do that on digital, it's yours. You gave them money, they gave you a product, which I know that studios or publishers have been trying to undermine the trade market for eons. We all remember, okay, maybe we don't all remember. I forget these things happened longer ago than I think. But when
was it PS4
Xbox
came out in 2000?
Yeah, PS4 and the Xbox. When Xbox was like, no, you can't trade games. It's going to be licensed to the actual.
You want to play offline? It's called 360.
Oh my God. Oh gosh, Microsoft. But yeah, I mean, it is. You can't like have people borrow. You can on Steam. You can just lend people games on Steam. The library.
It is one of the few places that is easy for sharing. It could be easier. Don't get me wrong. I hate the fact that the other person cannot be playing any game on their library for you to share, because what does it matter if he's playing, Age of Empires if I want to play Hades? Like, no, I have to have my own copy of Hades to use my friend's copy because he's playing a different game. Like, that never made any sense. I get that it's probably some kind of thing to prevent two people playing the same copy of a game or whatever in some way at the same time and competing online or whatever. That I totally get. That shouldn't be allowed. That's like using mods and cheats online, on multiplayer versus single player kind of thing, which we have an episode about that. Go watch it. What were you saying a while ago?
What about having like a monetary investment, like as a monetary value?
Yeah, okay, yeah. So
like,
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that aspect of it. Maybe because I don't think digital games should be the same price. I think digital games, you're not giving me a physical thing to collect, and you're not giving me a monetary incentive to gain a return on my investment at some point later, even though it's a negative.
They're not printing it. It's not. There was no manufacturing process on it. But digital games have never been like less expensive than physical media. The price keeps going up and up.
I mean,
like I don't.
Asterisk there, because it did when Steam started doing a lot of Steam sales, it kind of ushered in the whole discount thing. Like, we just had Steam summer sales last week, so their pricing did come down a bit. But I do agree.
But I'm talking like brand new games. Like we're still paying now for some of them $80 for a new game.
Yeah, $79.99 in the US.
Yeah, but it's digital. Yeah, $79.99 US for digital.
Completely asinine.
But if I go to the store, if I go to GameStop, if $79.99 for a physical copy.
Actually,
I have a
if
physical
you want to know a
copy.
secret,
Well, okay, it'll be a box with a piece of paper in it with a code on it that I can then take home and download.
or it'll be an actual physical disc with is only filled with that code, and you stick it in, and then it still does the download for the entire game. Is another method they do.
So digital has also because Steam's been fantastic. Steam gives you those. They've got the Steam
Thankfully,
sales.
we got. I mean, Steam did start off rough. Like there was a time when Steam was hated. There was a time when everyone was like, "This is terrible." It was probably the last time. I mean, the last physical PC game I bought. I remember to this day. It was Dawn of War: The Dark Crusade. It was and surprisingly enough, instead of CDs, it came on DVD. And I had one of the few computers that still had a DVD drive in it. Like it was that in between phase. So I'm like, cool. The first game I've ever bought to actually use DVD. I get to use this thing for once. And then bought it, installed it or whatever. It came with that fat blister pack or jewel case or whatever to hold multiple games, but it only had one DVD, so which I thought was funny. And then suddenly, PC games were gone. Like Steam suddenly got enough ground to where people were like, "Yeah, I don't need a box with a code in it. I don't need a disc that's not installing anything.
I don't need a big shelf with a bunch of big thick boxes on it.
Oh, don't get me started on PC boxes that were the big boxes. Oh, with the fold out casing. Oh, I miss those so much.
But that's nostalgia. We missed that because it was cool, because it was a part of our childhood. Do you think modern gamers really care about that kind of stuff?
Maybe as a majority don't, because they're not used to it. But at the same time, it just gets. If games didn't sell collectibles with their games, like the little my figurine for Armored Core or other figurines for other things. What things do current generations have for video games like that? Screenshots, videos that they made, little clips that they made for their time in the game from live streaming it.
Also,
they can't be
then,
they can't just open the case and be like, man, I remember this, or I want to go back and enjoy that time period. I can't because the servers are shut down, or whatever.
So that would be my major critical thing against digital, the trading in and the monetary value on lending your friends games, things of that nature. Yeah, I miss that.
Lending games especially,
but
yeah.
There are so many live service games or games that require online connectivity for online components, things of that nature, and we're already starting to see games with large populations where servers are getting shut down. It's happened to a ton of MMOs, and MMOs are really bad because back in the day, a lot of them are free to play now, but back in the day, you had to make an upfront real video game purchase and then pay monthly. And so when they shut those servers down, that game's dead. There's no way for you to experience or play that game again. Old school, can you play Warcraft 3 Reforged offline? Or do you have to launch it through the Blizzard?
I believe it has to be. No, you have to launch it through the Battle.net launcher.
So, back in the day, do you still have your Warcraft 3 and your Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne?
Okay, so here's some inside baseball. I did, but I threw it away because it was no longer good. Once they made the Reforged, they delisted from their own Battle.net servers the original game. So there's no way to get the original game. You could only get the Reforged because Reforged has both versions.
But a worst case scenario, you could have it installed on an old tower, an old hard drive.
No, because in order to install Warcraft 3, you had to input your CD code, and your CD code around it eventually turned into you had to link it at one point to your Battle.net account.
So it turned into a digital license that requires verification.
Yeah.
Blizzard, we used to like you. What happened? So there's no way to play. So there's games like that. You can't play anymore. They've either shut down servers. There's no way to verify CD. I can't believe they did that. You can't even play that offline anymore.
Yeah, no, they completely killed it. That was one reason people were pissed about it, was the fact that they killed the ability to play it old style, even with the discs.
So even when I was working at, back when I was a district manager for GameStop, we used to like the writing was on the wall.
That's another place that's not gonna.
Back in 2011, writing was on the wall. It was like games are going digital, and even when you got upgraded versions or Ultimate Edition, Collector's Editions, you'd get just the base game. It would be the base game in its original packaging and everything. It would just be in a bigger box with other DLC codes and like day one DLCs that you would download. So even then, those games were already starting to shift over to the digital, or come away from the physical media side of it, because you had to download all of the rest of the stuff. It was all digital that made a difference in the original collector's edition.
Speaking of that reminds me, again, a family member of ours. So he was posing the question of, like, you know, pretty much physical versus digital. And I used to be a big console player. Like, I used to love playing on console. Like, I used to love consoles, and I still love the concept of a console. They're all digital nowadays, even though they don't claim they're not. Like, they claim they have physical editions. You can buy discs or cartridges for these games. But like you were saying with the game cases, not everything's there. Instead of being the whole game, it's a code. It's just really an unlock code to download the rest of the game and everything. So to me, it's like, outside of cheapness compared to a nice gaming PC, what is the point of a console in terms of, like, that was always one thing it had over PC. It was like, we still have physical games. Like, you could collect games for it. You could play your games from back in the day, because all you have to do is pop the game in and you're off to the races, you know? There might be an online update for, like, some patching and stuff like that, but you weren't required, at least not on PS3, I don't think. PS4 and above, yeah, nowadays. PS4 was where it started, where the whole game wasn't even on the disc. It was just part of the installer, and then it would install the rest from the PSN servers. And then PS5 is that times two, you know, pretty much. Like, I couldn't give you a number because I don't know the exact number of what media is completely on the disc, but it's disappointing, and has pushed me further into more of like a nihilistic PC.
Dark Frost
like,
isn't mad; he's just disappointed.
Right. It's disappointing. Like, my shelving, like, everything looks so much cleaner nowadays because my collection has dwindled. I no longer have to lug around as much physical stuff between houses now. That's nice, but at the same time, it's like you said, ephemeral. It's more of a service. Like, it's Adobe Photoshop, really. You know.
Oh God! Don't get me started on licensing fees on
it's that.
Microsoft
like,
products and. Oh God!
And it's just, I hope in the future, I hope our generation expands upon it. But, like, I know the younger generations are getting into records and cassettes, and there's murmurs of VHS too, like this whole retro chic thing.
What?
Yeah, because, like, the '90s are back in vogue. You know, long tube socks or whatever kind of thing. The no-show socks are no longer what's hip. It's the long tube socks. You know, it's reverse of everything. So maybe they'll push back harder, and they'll be like, yeah, like, you know, shit's expensive.
Tube socks
guys.
were not cool in the '90s.
Well, whatever era. Like,
No,
I
know what you
was
mean.
a preteen at that
mean.
point. I don't know, or not even. I was a kid. I was 10 in '99.
All of my memories of that. There's the '90s that were transitioning from the '80s. That's when, like, the early '90s, when everything was like the Miami stage. Everything was like palm trees and spray. Yeah.
Like ice cream colors in Neapolitan.
Yeah, everything was neon or pastel.
Yeah, and, the Bart Simpson era.
Yeah, and then the later '90s, when it was that weird millennium transition. Friends was
things got darker.
Spray painting your shirt, that was cool. And for some reason, having pictures of Looney Tune characters dressed up with, like, backwards baseball caps and, like, sagging jeans.
Right,
it was a thing. I don't know. Warner Brothers characters got gangsta for a while. It was a weird time.
Six Flags was all over it too. Like,
God, we're easily distracted. What the hell are we talking about? This isn't supposed to be a Neon City Gaming Radio. This is supposed to be a Hills2Die on. So you're Hills2Die on. You know, digital better than physical. There's some pros and cons, but
that's your state of it. I state physical is better than digital for the archival. It depends. Like, I don't want it to go away. Ideally, okay, a little put it in that. Ideally, I would like a cartridge-like system where we have like a standard, like, sure, keep it digital and physical, but like make everything like a nice cartridge, like the futuristic 80s. You know?
So you just want a retro futuristic thing. So you want all the benefits.
Retrofuturism is what I want.
You want all the benefits of a digital, where you can download or purchase in the middle of the night, download it, play it, and then shelve it. But then you also want physical media that like says that you own it and that you can put it on your shelf.
Yeah, let me throw it on a giant like zip card looking thing, and then print out a label for it with my 3D printer or whatever.
But that's just physical media.
Yeah, I'm saying let's keep
that's physical media with extra steps.
Well, I mean, except the fact that it's not requiring a server. Like, there's no server time. Like, I can still pop the thing in and play it off the disc or the flash drive or the SD card or whatever.
Back up. Other than the convenience of being able to purchase whenever, wherever, as long as you have an internet connection, and download it and play it. Other than that convenience, does digital have anything over physical?
The occasional sale. But I mean, even then, physical, you could get the occasional sale too, where it'd be like, I found this DVD for $2 in a bargain bin.
You could buy physical pre-owned.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, used if you wanted. Which movies is fine. Certain things you wouldn't want to use. You know, you wouldn't want.
It's still just the convenience of not having to leave the house to make a purchase. So physical media would be superior.
I mean,
you'd have to store it. But
yeah,
some people would see that as a positive. Collectors. I mean, like I said, I have box sets of VHS animes.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately my stance on it. Is I am a both. I want it both ways kind of thing. I want the convenient. I want both. Bring back the ability to. I'm really disappointed with them no longer allowing burners for Blu-ray to be sold. Like, that means that whole you wouldn't copy a floppy thing is caught up to us kind of thing. What about SD cards in the future that might not be readable or whatever? Not saying that's the way I think it's going to go, but like, if no one besides professional photographers share photographs via SD card, and if cameras start being installed with Blu-ray or Wi-Fi on them, will they go away? You know, I mean, eventually at some point. So that's one of those things where, like, I know I don't look like it, but I am technically a millennial. And growing up, we had a lot of like pictures on the walls, things of that nature. My kids are, and this is a completely objective fact, not a subjective opinion. My children are beautiful. They are the cutest things on the face of this planet. They deserve to be plastered all over my walls. But everything, all the pictures I have are digital. And I haven't, like, do they still have, I work so much, don't judge me too harshly on this. All right, I don't leave this house unless it's to go to work or grocery shopping or, where can you print photos anymore? Yes. I don't know where. The last time I got physical photos, speaking of physical media, the last time was in 2018 or 2019, and before that it was probably 10 years before that. But I Google Photos when it was a thing, and it was first coming out. It was like, hey, unlimited storage and all that, and then every holiday they would advertise this printing thing where you could, for like $13, you can get like a printout of like 20 or 30 photos in a little photo book. Oh wow. Well, one year it was on sale for like Christmas for like $5. And I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. Let me throw these 30 photos on there and some captions here and there, and then yeah, it's cool. It's my coffee table book. It's cool. It's neat, but I mean, granted, I don't have kids, so like maybe that's why I don't care so much to have as many physical photos. It would be nice
it's not just because I have kids
and stuff like that, but
it's because I have my kids. My kids are just super adorable. I don't have
and
any.
then yet to play to play devil's advocate to your devil's advocate.
Not my devil's devil. That's a double devil. You can't double devil a devil. Honestly, digital, yes, I want to say that digital's better. But then, you made some pretty good points. I hate to admit it, but you did make some like convincing arguments, and I'm going to have to change my opinion. Because honestly, when you think about it, just like you said, other than the convenience of purchasing, and of course degradation of physical media after a long time, and anyone who has ever purchased a long JRPG on the PlayStation 1 and had a wonderful time playing through disc 1 and 2 and got to disc 3 only to find out that it's scratched and you'll never find out what happens at the end, digital does sound like an attractive alternative.
Chrono Cross for me.
Oh, Chrono Cross for you? It was
Second
Final
disc
Fantasy.
was messed up.
It was Final Fantasy 8 for me. And then it's more along the lines of like what kind of games or what games require as far as online connectivity and server side and things of that nature that can be turned off.
Well, I mean, it would be nice to have like, you know, the ability to host your own server for those multiplayer games that don't have a campaign or single player offline mode component to it.
Well, like the old school
Though
Battlefield
at the same
games.
time, yeah, or like Quake 3 and what is it? Epic's Unreal Tournament.
Yeah, you can go. There are private servers. You can still hop on. I can go still play Battlefield 2142 on private servers.
They need to bring back the ability for private servers so those people can still play those games after you enjoy. So people can play Mass Effect 3 online multiplayer after they shut down the servers for it and then release a remake for it 10 years later, but they don't remake the online portion of it. Fuck you, BioWare.